Hello there. Today we're going to delve into this video. So we're going to look into this topic where apparently China can disrupt the whole global auto production. Just for your information, if you want to watch the full video, I will link it in the description. I'm going to be playing and pausing. I'm going to play, pause, give my feedback or give my explanation, and then eventually I will summarize everything.
China dominates the global supply of several critical minerals, and for some years, the country's been restricting exports, slowly at first, then quickly. In April 2024, the problem came to a head. China all but completely cut off access to several crucial materials in its trade dispute with the United States. At the center of it is a class of minerals called rare earth elements. They're used in a wide array of products, anything from airplanes to electronics, even sports equipment.
It is hidden.
So in the video, the video states that China all but cut complete access, which is a strong way of putting it, but it's important to clarify and be specific. So sources do show that China's dominance is indeed staggering, and it controls almost, if not more than 69% of the global rare earth productions and that's by 2023. By now, it's even more. And the processing of nearly 90% of world's rare earth elements. So this is not something new. It's been like China's had an advantage in refining rare earth elements for the last almost 10 years, and this is because of lower production costs and also much better and much more high-tech refining capabilities that have managed to help China cement this position. The other thing also is this: you also have to understand that the restrictions that were basically handed to America were as a result of the tariffs. Trump came with, or Trump bestowed on China. And this was not an outright ban. What happened is the Chinese government basically just made that most of the companies that process or work with these rare earth elements, that they have to secure special export licenses for several specific rare earth elements and magnets, which are linked to defense capabilities of a lot of countries and also, mainly America.
Our defense industry, our semiconductor industry, our automotive industry, our medical industry. There's really no major industry that is being spared the impact of it.
Within 3 weeks of China cutting off access, prices of rare earths shot up 40%. The auto industry was hit especially hard. It's just the latest in a series.
Not only the auto industry, they are kind of embellishing on how hard it actually hit the defense industry. And on top of that, some of the rare earth minerals that are actually being used in the defense industry include some of the rare earth elements that are being restricted include samarium, gadolinium, terbium, dysprosium, lutetium, and scandium. I didn't even know such kind of elements existed. So most of these elements are used in defense technologies in America. E.g., some of these rare earth elements are crucial for a range of defense technologies, including F-35 fighter jets, Virginia and Columbia class submarines, Tomahawk missiles, radar systems, Predator unmanned aerial vehicles, and the Joint Direct Attack Munition series of smart bombs. For example, the F-35 contains over 900 pounds of rare earth elements. Of course, they will never say which ones. And an Allied Burke class DDG-51 destroyer requires approximately 5,200 pounds of rare earth elements, while a Virginia class submarine uses around 900 pounds of rare earth elements. This basically puts America on a back foot. But again, I would say Trump's tariff. I'd say that the whole part where Trump is bestowing tariffs on a lot of countries, and including China, which was bestowed a lot of tariffs, or he threw a lot of tariffs and has been targeting China all throughout, kind of gave China like a stack of cards or a deck of cards that they didn't even know they actually had. They did know they actually have it, but they didn't know that, oh wow, thanks. We actually didn't know we can actually use it. But now since you mention it, let's go.
Of supply shortages. Several vehicle plants in Europe shut down. Ford stopped making the Explorer at its Chicago factory in May. Car companies panicked.
You are not going to manufacture a car without rare earths.
They're all over the car.
On June 13th, Beijing signaled a willingness to ease its restrictions. That'll buy some time, but insiders say it's a patch.
We're not out of the woods yet. There is a lot of volatility in the US-China relationship in between tariffs and mineral restrictions. We've seen China ramp up restrictions over 2 years. Rare earths are just the newest one.
The fact is, the frequency and severity of these crises is rapidly increased.
So how can the car industry, or any industry, adjust to this new reality? CNBC dove in to find out. First, let's talk about what rare earths even are. They're a class of 17 elements found throughout the Earth's crust, located in many places around the world. They're called rare not because they are rare, rather because the process to separate them from other minerals is very complicated and requires highly specialized equipment. This is what China dominates. Rare earth elements are used in so many things. Among them, wind turbines, wireless technology, microwaves, smartphones, submarines, military aircraft, and yes, cars. They're especially useful for making high-strength, durable magnets, which are essential to motors.
What they do is they make the magnets that are in those motors more resistant to heat and vibration, right? Heat and vibration kind of demagnetize things over time. And there's not many things on Earth better than a car at creating heat and vibration, right? For these vehicles to last a long time and be reliable, you need these materials.
The amount of rare earth elements needed in a vehicle only totals about $50 to $200, which is not that much compared with.
So you can actually see at this point, it's absolutely crucial, and it's not just about having the raw materials. It's also about having specialized equipment and being able to actually perform or separate these metals. And that's something that China has mastered to the point whereby it nearly processes 90% of world's rare earth elements, and alarmingly holds a monopoly in the processing of these heavy earth of these heavy rare earth elements. So something we're going to mention a little bit later, which is solvent extraction, and this is where China leaps way beyond everyone else, including Western companies and including America and including everyone else. Like, they are leaps beyond when it comes to solvent extraction. And I'll explain later on why it's going to be hard for a lot of companies or a lot of countries to catch up.
The cost of other materials, and about 4 pounds of rare earths seems like nothing compared to the 920 pounds found in an F-35. The issue is, if you don't have rare earths, you have no car. Even in a gas car, you need them for all kinds of things, like filtering pollution from exhaust, sensors, small electric motors, even speakers. Hybrids need all that and even more, and EVs need the most. Up until about the mid-1990s, the US led the world in rare earth production. However, there was a turning point when the Clinton administration closed the Bureau of Mines in 1996.
So we began ceding a lot of advantages in everything from uranium to rare earths to other countries.
First among those countries was China. The Asian giant leads the world in refining a host of critical minerals, including rare earths. While it controls most of the world's rare earth mines, where it really dominates is processing. That is, actually separating the elements from each other and other minerals. It has a
So this process is actually what is known as the solvent extraction processing technique, which a lot of Western companies are not able to do. This has put a lot of countries in a very vulnerable position. And it's one of the reasons why, a good example in Germany, they're struggling to build EV cars or electrical vehicle cars. And on top of that, they really can't compete in the Chinese market as well, because everything you need is being manufactured by the competition. A good example is you have companies like BYD who have all the processing, including rare earth elements. And on top of that, including different parts of different parts of their automotive vehicle, all in one compound. So this makes it that you do not have to wait for the supplier to bring in, let's say they're the ones who are in charge of the interior of the car. No, don't have to do that. Everything is within the same compound. That means they're able to manufacture cars very fast and very quick. And then on top of that, they also have a fail fast. They also have a first to market fail fast kind of system where they do not sit down and over process and over engineer most of their cars. So at this point, they're trying, what they're doing is they are pretty much slowing down the West as they move a little bit further and further and further. Then later on, maybe they might release, but the moment they might open up the market, but at the end of the day, they control the market at the moment when it comes to rare earth elements, and they're about to actually control the market in so many other aspects. And right now, I think they're focused more on defense. So I'm actually keeping a very, very close eye on how China is moving.
Monopoly on processing heavy rare earths, which are the ones the country has cut off access to.
The real concern, of course, is that this is it's a material that has been...
Again, China's not cut access to rare earth minerals, and sources say it's just that, and companies that export these rare earth elements just need to acquire special licenses or special export licenses. It's just sneakier, but we get it's like the Chinese are using the same language that, sorry to say this, the West kind of uses, which is almost like plausible deniability. Like you can actually say, no, I haven't really restricted any kind of access to rare earth elements. We just require some special export licenses from the companies that actually export them to you. That's all. Sneaky, but
artificially concentrated in one region, one country, similarly to semiconductors.
Here's one reason why. In 2010, a Chinese fishing boat crashed into 2 Japanese Coast Guard vessels. Japanese authorities arrested the captain. China cut off Japan's rare earths supply.
So that was the first kind of modern weaponization of these minerals.
China's ongoing trade tensions with other countries only exacerbated the issue. Since 2023, it's increasingly restricted its critical minerals exports. These minerals were used for an array of things, including chip making, defense, and a lot of high-tech products.
And on the chip making part, that's actually very, very crucial. Considering Biden restricted China from actually getting NVIDIA chips. And there's also a push that's the other semiconductor. So there's also the Dutch company that makes semiconductors, which also there was a kind of like a push towards restricting export to China, because they have a technology that China doesn't have in terms of manufacturing semiconductors. And I think it's also because China also holds I think the issue is that China also holds the keys or the cards when it comes to manufacturing the rare earth minerals that this company requires to make these semiconductors. So it's one of those cases where you kind of fingers are crossed that China doesn't figure out how to actually make semiconductors. On the other side, China is not really worried about the Western world or that other countries are able to process rare earth elements. And the reason why is because, number one, it's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a long, long time. And on top of that, given the amount of investment or how much you have to invest into processing rare earth metals and how much the output is, and if it's a company that requires a return on investment, China can easily disrupt that because China has a ton of these rare earth elements and can easily flood the market, which makes it that whatever it is that you're actually doing ends up becoming a loss lead. As far as a restriction and a ban, China banned the export of these processing equipment to other countries. So that means if you are, or any country wants to process these rare earth elements, they have to figure it out by themselves, which means more investments and more R&D. And at the end of the day, you're looking at it like, okay, if you go that route, then China finds out, or you start doing it by yourself. You really can't, unless you're doing it for your own self, you can't really do it as a way to actually trade, or and a way to actually sell to other countries, or to trade with other countries. Now, there could be a solution out of this, and I will actually explain a little bit later.
China even banned the export of rare earth refining equipment, technology, and IP.
We actually didn't even have the technical know-how on how to do it.
There's a concern that they're going to support other countries' military defense, but it's
A good example is the war just concluded in Iran. So the news is they're getting a lot of support from China, and on top of that, some of the missiles that are actually being used by the Iranian military or the Iranian regime were actually very high tech, which are actually Iranian, and they're not Chinese, they're actually Iranian, and they're made in Iran. But the rare earth elements are coming from China, and also some of the technology. And on top of that, there was another issue, and one of the issue is one of the few reasons why there was a ceasefire. And one of the reasons for the ceasefire, apparently, according to me, this is just my theory, and I've read it in a couple of places, that it's because of these rare earth elements that America was not able to manufacture anymore, or be able to actually send enough THAAD missiles and Arrow missiles for the Iron Dome for Israel. And on top of that, it's like Iran knew that they will exhaust the Israeli defense system by sending a shit ton of missiles, and having the Israeli Iron Dome defense system overwhelmed. And that's what pretty much they did. And well, they knew eventually you're going to run out and you can't replenish it, because you need rare earth elements to actually manufacture more of these missiles. And on top of that, or more of this defense capability, and on top of that, they're actually super expensive to manufacture. Now, that's one of the few reasons why there was a clean and really fast ceasefire. Otherwise, normally, as we all know, that's not something that the Israeli regime tends to follow, or that's not its game plan.
this slow building of leverage. It's not unlimited supply, and China wants to make sure it can hold on to what it needs, what it already has.
Still, the news on full export restrictions announced on April 4th came as a shock. Automakers panicked. Some reported their factories could be idle within a month.
Nobody had any time to react to it, right? I mean, within a matter of weeks, all of the material in the pipeline is out, and nobody could see this coming. There was only so much available at any price.
Auto industry is facing a pattern. The last several decades have been punctuated by periods of intense disruption. They are getting more frequent and more intense, and are increasingly due to shortages of critical parts or materials produced in just one region of the world. In the 2010s, it was a tsunami that hit Japan. A few years ago, it was the COVID-19 pandemic, the chip shortage, and the war in Ukraine. Now, it's rare earths.
A couple years or possibly sooner, it'll be something else that will be in shortage, and we will or will have not learned our lessons from this. They really do need to take seriously, map their supply chains, really know or have the systems to rapidly collect and understand this information about where things are coming from, who's supplying them.
The challenge is companies guard sourcing information tightly, considering it a trade secret.
And as a result, it's hard to know whether or not you will have a problem whether it's this type of shortage or a volcano goes off or an earthquake or some other type of political disaster.
To reduce reliance on China, one obvious option is to build up supply chains in other countries, including in the US, which once led the world in rare earths production.
The US is actually the second biggest producer of rare earths after China. The difficulty is that we never developed processing capabilities.
When tariffs went into effect in February 2025, companies began stockpiling.
Why? The thing is, we talk like the rhetoric I'm getting from this clip is when tariffs went into effect. No, your president issued tariffs. Your president began. So it's a case whereby you're basically now complaining when the other side throws a slap. You get? America is like there's this meme where someone is in those slapping competition where he issues like a really massive slap, and then once he does that, he's like, okay, I quit. And people are like, no, you can't quit. You can't quit. Then he removes guns. That's kind of looks like that.
Heavy rare earths. The US government has also given over $400 million to companies with operations here in America, primarily MP Materials and Lynas, to build separation capabilities for both light and heavy rare earths, and for a permanent magnet manufacturing facility in Texas. These assets are designed to build the domestic mine-to-magnet supply chain for rare earths here.
The hope.
To start, the global average time frame for getting a mine up and running is 18 years, and it's 29 in the US. The business case for such an operation is harder to make when a single country can flood the world market with cheap product.
NdPr oxide is below $60 a kilogram. If it stays at this price point, by 2030, there are only 8 projects in the world outside of China that will break even on direct production costs. So by doing it, by flooding the market, and for them, often backed by the government, they are able to put Western producers who have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders out of business.
That said, there are other sources of rare earths around the world: Australia, Vietnam, and Saudi Arabia.
Australia is a really big one. Not only do they have rare earths, they're building their own separation capabilities. The second country we're looking at is Saudi Arabia. One of Saudi Arabia's key advantages are they actually have a big deposit of heavy rare earths, which are much rarer and which we have a lower concentration of here in the United States.
Companies outside China can also try innovating their way out. One path is recycling. There is an abundance of scrap that contains still usable material. In September 2024, the U.S. Department of Defense invested $4.2 million in rare earth salts, a startup that aims to extract the oxides from domestic recycled products, such as fluorescent light bulbs. But extracting materials from something as complex as a smartphone is difficult to do, and once it is done, if it can be done economically, a lot of those materials could be corroded or unusable.
I think the concern is that supply enough to offset the overall shortage? And generally, I think the answer is no.
Another path is to rely less on rare earths altogether.
Yep.
Tesla has reduced its use of rare earths in its EVs by 25%. Toyota has magnet motors with less rare earths content, and supplier ZF has entirely magnet-free ones.
That's the wonder of technology and science is there's lots of different ways to make some of these things.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Minnesota-based Niron is making magnets that use no rare earths. Investors include GM, Stellantis, and Volvo.
We already had very good demand from customers for our technology. After the export controls were put in place by China, we saw a step change in interest both from customers and investors in Niron.
Roundtree says Niron magnets aren't beholden to the same kinds of shortages.
Our magnets are made out of iron and nitrogen, which you can basically mean you can stand up a plant anywhere in the world.
The company is building a plant in Minnesota, scheduled to open sometime between 2026 and 2027. A second large-scale facility is scheduled for 2029.
That 10,000-ton factory will be able to supply, magnets that will build millions of EVs here in North America. And if we need to, we're happy to build plants beyond that.
But in the next 5 years, again, it's going to be one of those situations where we'll have allied supply. We're going to leverage innovation to need less rare earths. And that's, one of America's great strong points.
Sounds good on paper, and it's actually a good move to not depend on China for its rare earth elements because, it's not like the Chinese are going to stop using it as a bargaining chip because the truth is, again, these tariffs and the whole part where the United States, both Biden and Trump, have been restricting a lot of access to the Chinese market, e.g. semiconductors, and now it's tariff. It was semiconductors with Biden, and now it's Trump with tariffs. So of course, the Chinese are going to use the rare earth elements to their advantage or as a bargaining chip. Now, for the US, with the new technology of having batteries or having magnets which require less rare earth elements, the problem is a lot of rare earth is very, very important because it's very hard to actually have or to be able to manufacture artificial or to be able to actually extract or manufacture artificial magnets with less rare earth elements. Number one, because you will need rare earth to do that. Number two, the strength is the strength is less compared to rare earth content or rare earth elements, and inherently weaker, and also sensitive to temperatures, and not likely that you'll be able to manufacture something of a similar strength as the natural or the basic rare earth element. Secondly, doing it in America is going to become an issue because, number one, environmental concerns, environmental regulations, bureaucracy, and the likes. So I do think there is a possibility, but I don't see it. At this point, any move you make, China's already like almost 100 steps ahead. Because even making any kind of systems that are going to enable you to not rely on China, you might end up having to rely on China. Because again, you're actually the one who gave them the keys to the gold mine. So you can only have yourself to blame at this point. So anyway, so that's my take. I actually think China is going to dominate in this sector for some time, and will try as much as possible to keep it that way. And I don't think, as much as the other countries are doing their R&D, I don't think China is also sleeping on that, or they're chilling and thinking, okay, we're good, we don't have to do anything, we got everything that we need. I'm sure they're also competing and doing their own R&D. Now, that's my take. Thank you for your time, and see you on the next video.